If you're a fan of onions, you're truly going to love this dish, pasta alla Genovese. A Neapolitan dish steeped in a rich history. It requires hours of cooking, and the meat becomes incredibly tender and is cooked in the very juice of the onions. If you've never tried this dish before, now is finally the time. As always, you'll find the ingredients in the description box. Let's get started right away. We'll begin by cutting all of these onions because there are actually a lot of them. Keep in mind that for about 600 grams of meat, you'll need 2 kilograms of onions. The good news is that you really don't have to worry about cutting them too finely at all, so the whole process won't take you very long. Let me show you exactly how it's done. First, we cut the onions in half and then we simply slice them up. Now, why don't we cut the onion more finely? Well, it is because since it has to cook slowly for many hours, it will break down naturally on its own. If we cut it too thin, it would end up burning. Instead, what we want is for it to gradually release all of its natural water during those hours of cooking. That water will be the same liquid that cooks the meat. See, this size is perfect. We place it right into the pot, which helps us avoid unnecessarily getting another bowl dirty. Llorona, llorona, ma que quedaste. And once we're finished prepping the onion, we can then begin working on the finely chopped celery and the fresh carrot. The rule is yes, but just a little. Here, it's not like in bolognese where it's 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. Here, we're going to use a lot of onion and just a little celery and a little carrot. In this case, just a tiny carrot and a single stalk of celery. The more modern chefs also add the bouquet garni, which is a bundle of herbs that can include a sprig of rosemary, bay leaf, parsley, thyme, and whatever else you like. Personally, I advise you not to add anything, because that way, that's how it's made in the traditional version. Here, we want to focus on the sweetness of the onion and nothing else. If you really, really want, you can add a bay leaf, but nothing more. You can choose whether to cut the carrot by hand or, as I always recommend, use a grater. And if you're a follower of En la Cocina con Marco, you'll be recognized immediately by how you cut the carrot. I get a ton of comments saying, ever since I first learned how to chop up these carrots with the grater, I haven't gone back to the old way. And we put this wonderful mixture on the stove. We add a very generous amount of olive oil, and turn on the heat gently. I set it to about 4 or 5 out of 9, and from there, I let it cook for about half an hour. Since there are a lot of vegetables, especially onion, it's important to stir it from time to time. This way, all the onion will cook evenly. You can also put the lid on. That way, all the steam from the onion will be trapped. While the vegetables are slowly softening up, now we're going to take a look at the type of meat used for this recipe. I prefer to use beef chuck, which is actually the traditional cut of meat used to prepare this dish in Naples. Also called shoulder cut or shank, it's ideal because it contains the right amount of fat and is not too lean. Nowadays, many people also use round or eye of round, but I prefer to use those for other types of preparations. For example, vitel toné, for which I'll leave the link up here. Depending on the size for the meat you're using, you'll need to use onions, and the ratio is about 4 times. So it's actually very simple. For 500 grams of meat, you would need 2 kilos of onions. Many people often wonder, to speed up the process, cut the piece of meat into small pieces. That does speed things up, but I say it's not necessary. I personally prefer, once I'm making a dish like this, to give it all the time it really needs. Look at how beautiful this is. It has a stunning marbled appearance. It is perfect. Look at this wonder. Down here, moving the onions, we can see there's a lot of liquid. That's all water released by the onion itself, and that's what's going to cook the meat. Mamma mia. And from there, we're going to put it on top. That is how you want it to look. It is truly beautiful. It's just beautiful. And then we cover it, lower the heat to a setting of about 3 out of 9 and let it cook. If you really trust your own cooking skills, you can set it to the absolute lowest heat and leave it for about 24 hours. It will be delightful, but let's say that 5 or 6 hours is enough and you'll already get an exquisite flavor. Let's say It is very much like a modern sous vide, which is a precise low-temperature cooking method that actually dates back to another era entirely. Just imagine yourself walking through the vibrant, narrow streets of Naples and smelling these incredible, rich aromas wafting through the air at the end of the 1700s and the beginning of the 1800s. Mamma mia, what an absolutely magnificent and breathtaking marvel this truly is. After the time has passed, we're going to open our lid. Mamma mia, the aromas coming out of here are wonderful. Onion is magical, isn't it? The onion has become super soft. The meat, when you touch it, it practically starts to fall apart now. We're going to turn up the heat because we actually still have a lot of water from the onion. We're going to let all that water reduce down. When do you add the salt? I add it right at this specific moment. Once we reach this point, we can start adding the wine. You will need to use a nice bottle of dry white wine. It shouldn't be sweet because the onions are already quite sweet. You have to add it little by little as you see the liquid evaporate. Once you've finished adding the wine and the sauce has thickened, it's ready. Look at this wonder. Now we turn off the heat, or if you prefer, you can leave it on the absolute lowest heat. And that's it. Now let's cook the pasta. You can use the shape you prefer, but traditionally this dish is made with ziti broken by hand. Careful, this is one of the very rare times when you won't see an Italian cry over breaking the pasta. And finally, guys, here we have our delicious Genovese. Let's go ahead and give it a taste right away. It's absolutely delightful. I really like how the wine perfectly balances with the onion, effectively cutting through the sweetness and balancing it perfectly. The meat is super tender and incredibly juicy. It's out of this world.
Mamma mia.
This, guys, is a dish full of history. With every bite, you truly feel the Neapolitan traditions. If you've never tried it, I recommend you taste it at least once in your life because your palate needs to experience this. If, like me, you love all traditional recipes, made just as historical gastronomy dictates, I recommend you check out my book, Pasta Italiana, the tour of Italy in 80 pasta recipes. Well, guys, that's it for today's recipe. As always, I hope you enjoyed, were entertained, and learned something from this recipe. We will see each other here next weekend with another wonderful recipe. I love you all so much. Ciao, ciao.